this up. Guys, exciting day. So in case you're not aware, about a month ago, I tweeted out a Google form asking for you to share your bad date experiences with me. And it took me forever. So yeah, we could have just looked at the Google form submissions and looked at white text and stuff like that. But that's not as fun. Yeah. I need some Morpheus glasses. That's a good idea. Hold on. I'm in. Let's see what you guys are up to. It's time to access the freak files. Willy Wonka. It's time to access the freak files. Subject 1, Harry Potter fanfic. What an awful start, to say the least. Jesus Christ. I invited this girl to my house as a friend, as a first date, and I asked her what she liked to do in her free time. First mistake. She said, Wattpad. I was interested in what she meant by that, so she pulled up a Harry Potter one and started reading it. This was not just a normal fanfic, but a self-insert smut fanfic about Draco and Snape, and it was detailed. We broke up a week after that. Out loud? Also a week? That happened and you let it, like 7 more days passed? And you were like, eh. I mean, maybe it's like kind of a hobby. You know, maybe it's like sort of her free time. Not like all of it. It started to get weird when she pulled out the second fanfic. Let's move on. This is awful. This is already awful. My date ended up being my uncle. Excuse me? What? Pardon? I met this guy online and we really hit it off. We had so much in common and even lived in the same town. I confessed my feelings for him after 3 months of nonstop talking to him, and he felt mutual. He asked me out on a date and I agreed. We was meeting at this restaurant, so I was on my way walking and I saw my uncle and a head. I said hi to him and asked where he was going. He said he was going to the restaurant I was going to, and I was like, ha 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 ha. What a coincidence. I said I was on a date and he said, oh, me too. And I froze and was like, wait, is he? But I shoved it out of my mind and we walked and talked for a bit until we got there. And I said, good luck on your date. We both waited until he said, who are you meeting? And I said, this guy online, his name is Jackson. And then he froze. We looked at each other and realized, and we haven't spoke since. Whoa. Haven't spoke? Catfished by your own uncle. By accident. You know, I don't want to know the details. Some of these details are already a little too much for my liking, so. Next one. We just keep going. We just keep spiraling, don't we? We just keep going. Title: I love feet. This happened with my first longer relationship when I was a junior in high school. We had been dating for some time and I was ready to say the 3 magic words to them. Abracadabra. One day we were hanging out alone. They went, I have something I want to tell you. I was expecting an I love you. Boy, I was wrong. I beat them to the punch and said, I love you too. And they went, oh, I wanted to tell you I have a foot fetish. I was in complete disbelief and embarrassed as hell. Needless to say, the relationship dissolved quickly after that. No! Imagine being at such an emotional peak that you're like, I love you. And they're like, so I'm into feet. Wow. Yeah, instead of also like reciprocating that, he was like, I like feet. Next entry. The intrusive thoughts 1. Was at Olive Garden with a cute dude, told him I'd eat his ass and he threw up. What a coward. Next entry. The salad cream incident. What? A few years ago, he/they, was online dating someone she/her in the UK. I'm originally from the US and was living there at the time. I was in the UK for a month and was really excited to go meet up with her and finally spend some time with her IRL so we could see how well we actually got on. I don't like how this is going. British people are involved. Terrible start. She decided we'd just go to Spoons for a casual first date. Don't know what the fuck that is. And I was more than cool with that option. So we sit down, we get some food, and things are going super well. I noticed a bottle of Heinz salad cream. Salad cream? What the fuck is a salad cream? Like dressing? Why the fuck? Why are you calling it cream? Oh, can you pass the salad cream? Yeah, the salad cream, yeah. What? What are you talking about? The bottle is labeled salad cream. Can you pass the ranch cream, please? Yeah, pass the ranch cream. Anyway, let's continue. I noticed a bottle of Heinz salad cream on the table and wanted to taste it since I've never tasted it before. I squeezed a little bit out on my finger and tasted it, and it was oddly familiar and wanted to taste it again. I went to put more on my finger, but when I squeezed the bottle, the cap popped off the top, launching about half of the bottle of salad cream into my hand. I absolutely panic. What do I do? No, really, no, stop laughing. What do I do? To my date, who is absolutely fucking wheezing at me, which is fair. She tells me just to eat the handful of garbage, which was not about to happen. So I just ran to the bathroom with half the people in the pub staring at me. Got weird looks from some girls in the bathroom too. Long story short, we broke up, but we're still good friends. Curiosity killed my relationship, but it was funny, so it's okay. Oh, I've got cream on my hands. I've got cream all over my hands. What do I do? Wait, that boy cummed on himself, yeah? Way. Next entry. Very creepy, 10 out of 10, would not do again. I met this guy online. He lived in my city, and we talked a few times about some meaningless things. One night, he asked me out and I didn't have any interest in him, but said yes out of boredom. I mean, it could go into something. So we met up at a bar, went inside, sat down, and had a couple of drinks. It was going fine until he started calling me his kitten and telling me he wanted to lock me up and never let me out. Well, actually, I think I would be a really good boyfriend. Well, let's just say I have a place for you. Oh, he would put me into his basement and not feed me if I did something bad. Didn't even hit that part. After he finished talking, didn't want him to hurt me, I said I had to use the bathroom, but then went and talked to the security they had there. He is now in jail for murder. Well, let's just say I'm incarcerated. Next entry. The Ford Fiesta Fiasco. Wow, what an alliteration. I love that. Okay, so something to know about me is when I get nervous, I blabber about anything. And it was my first date with a guy I really liked. He took me out in his car and we went to get ice creams. Probably not the best idea in hindsight, considering we're both lactose intolerant, but that dairy grind do be popping off. Anyway, we were parking up to get petrol. British jump scare. And I was feeling hella nervous. And I was talking about cars, which I know nothing about. And I said as a joke, you can tell someone has a small cock because they own a Ford Fiesta. And he laughed but got really quiet afterwards. He got out of the car to fill it up and I looked at the dashboard and I noticed that he had a Ford fucking Fiesta. See, listen, that would have made me laugh, considering I would have assumed you knew the car I was in. I wanted to curl up in a hole and hide. I mean, I apologized for it and said that I blabber and make crappy jokes when I'm nervous. He said it was fine and laughed it off. See, it would have made me laugh immediately on the spot. I would have made a joke back, but it's fine. I found out 2 weeks later. I found out 2 weeks later that I was right about the small cock Ford Fiesta owners. Oh, man. I guess I know why he didn't laugh then. Guys, I had a moment like this with Hannah really early on of us dating, where we were just sitting in her apartment, and for some reason, I was just like, you know what's really strange to me? It's really strange to me how somebody can birth a child into this world, and out of all the names in the world, they pick Gerald. And I was like, it's just such a weird, funny name to me. And was like, yeah, that's my dad's name. I love it. Shout out to Gerald. He's a great man. Yeah, it's a true story. I didn't mean it in like a, I hate the name. I just think it's a funny name. I think it's a very interesting name. I mean, he's my father-in-law now, so like, he was okay with it. Next entry. What? Oh no. What? TLDR. Hardcore DNF shipper and faked Tourette's. Whoa. Wild start. When I first started dating this girl, she was super chill and nice and stuff. Known her for a few years beforehand and finally decided, fuck it. What's the worst that could happen if I just, you know, die? So one of our first dates, we're at her house for a sleepover because what else was there to do in the middle of December? I walk into her room, not surprised to see a couple pride flags and a L'Manberg flag hanging around the place. We chat, yada yada. I don't care about the details of her, whatever. And she decides to show me some things she had made. Now, I love seeing what other people create, but then she pulled out a pair of Vans with Dream and George painted on it and DNF in bright red on the heels. Yeah. Anyways, I was like, oh, sick. Didn't know you had those. And she smiled and then pulled out a sketchbook. Every page was just DNF, nothing but DNF. Like, not even a joke. Whoa. So now I was just silently uncomfortable. The nail in the coffin, though, is when she shouted beans and then immediately went, oops, sorry, it's my Tourette tics. My soul died a little in that moment. And what sucked was I couldn't just leave because there was no one to pick me up. I was just stuck there. Also, bonus, after I left the next day, she immediately decided to start telling people I was being bitchy towards her. This escalated to her trying to spread rumors about me when we broke up. Exciting. 1 out of 10 date. The only good thing was the cat. Wow. Cat clutched up for that 1 point. Next entry. Sweet Home, Alabama. Excuse me? So my friend was like, why no bitches? I love the way some of these people wrote their submissions. It's exactly how I talk. I know someone you'd like, and I was like, no, but she convinced me because she said we would match super well, and he's extremely hot. Spoiler, he was not. And he plays video games and watches the same shows I like and stuff. It was a blind date, so I didn't knew the person before. In the restaurant, I just said my friend's name because she booked for us, and the waitress leads me to that guy. Well, he was my step bro. Turns out the reason we watch the same shows and play the same games is we introduced them to each other. We stared at each other for like 10 seconds without saying anything. Extremely awkward, especially because I went to him earlier that day and asked for date advice. But we had an amazing date and laughed so bad at it. Also, this was the way we came out to each other because we both didn't know that the other liked guys. Oh, that's kind of sweet. That's very wholesome. Anthony. Still can't believe my friend said my brother is hot. Like, did she ever look at him? Anyways, bye. What the hell? Scott, what are you doing here? Well, I don't know. Next entry. The Little Slip. A few months ago, I was out on a date with somebody I'd gone out with a couple of times before. We went out to this pizza place, the edge of town. The pizza was greasy as fuck, but good. While me and this girl were talking, I had the sudden urge to fart and decided it would be fine to silently slip one out. It was not. I could feel the shit exit my ass. And I was fucking mortified. I sat there for a moment in just complete shock and excused myself to the restroom while trying to look as normal as you can after you just took a shit in front of your date and still need to shit. I slammed the bathroom door shut and took down my pants. You don't have to detail this, which apparently was a mistake because the urge to shit got even worse. And I accidentally shit some before I made it to the toilet. That was a true moment of bliss, being finally able to properly relive myself until I realized I'd made a fucking mess doing so. And I needed to clean it. I did my best, but I couldn't handle it all. What is happening? I was in there for so long and my date was still waiting for me, so I said fuck it and silently prayed for whoever the fuck had to clean up what remained. I said I had to leave early and paid the bill with a very nice tip. I hopped in my truck and never looked back. I've never talked to that girl again either. I just wanted to forget about the day altogether, but I still haven't. That poor janitor is like Eddie Murphy in fucking Daddy Daycare, where he's just like, man combusted in the bathroom. Why do so many freaks got IBS? Because hot bitches got IBS. Anybody who's a freak is a hot bitch, and hot bitches got IBS. Because same. Except I handle that shit like a champ. I be out here pooping myself. Next entry. The twist no one expected. I was 18 at the time. I met this guy. For easier writing, I'll call him Dave. He was 20. Through my cousin's friend. They flew from another state for vacation and they were staying in my neighborhood. We talked a lot throughout the first 2 weeks of knowing each other. Then Dave asked me on a proper date. It was my first time that someone actually asked me somewhere, so I said yes. And we shared a lot of interests. David took me to the fancy restaurant and it was going great. We were having such fun talking and laughing. He paid for the food and went to the bathroom. I was waiting for him at our table when our waitress brought me a piece of cake. I got very confused because I never ordered it and Dave certainly didn't order it either. I saw him like 15 seconds before entering the bathroom. The waitress told me that it was a gift for me from the girl who was sitting at the bar. I looked at her, still confused, and she pointed on her napkin. And then on the plate I received. I looked on it and saw a napkin with words written on it. She wrote that I am on a date with her boyfriend, who told her he is going on a fishing trip with the boys for a few weeks, a few states away. My jaw dropped. I got up from my chair, took the cake and the napkin with me, and approached the girl at the bar. She didn't need to say anything. She just showed me her lock screen. Oh my God. Same Dave I was on a date with, kissing the girl on the cheek. That moment I saw the lock screen, Dave got out of the bathroom and went to our table. When he spotted me at the bar, he smiled and approached me, not seeing his girlfriend sitting beside me. When he finally spotted her, his face got pale. He tried to explain himself to both of us, but I wasn't listening to him. I walked closer to him and slapped his face in front of a whole restaurant. His now ex-girlfriend took the cake and smushed it all over his stupid face. Then she asked me if I wanted to go somewhere else. I, without thinking, said yes, and we left Dave alone at the restaurant. We went on to the park and had a blast together. Fast forward few months, me and this girl ended up dating, and now after 4 years, we are engaged. After all, Dave's cheating ass brought me and the woman of my life together. What? Whoa, that's crazy. Good for you. That's amazing. Next entry. His uncle was his hype man, and damn did he need it. That's a great title. This is a date I had in high school. We messaged online before meeting. Both of us were excited to see each other in person for the first time. We decided to go to the movies. Typical first date choice. The only typical thing about the date. I brought along a friend to hang out for the beginning as a safety buddy, and he brought his uncle. That man was the epitome of a sleazy hype man. My date brought some flowers and a gift, a sweet gesture. Meanwhile, the uncle is a few feet behind him, doing his best work as a wingman. He clapped and cheered, exclaiming, "Just look at that, not even married yet, and you're showering him with gifts. And what a great guy he is, huh? Bet you never had a date like this before. He's one of a kind." Yeah, what a real treat. This was a first date, and my date was just basking in the praise from his uncle. Alabama? My friend and I were just watching this all go down, politely smiling while these chuds were preening over themselves. What the fuck? What the hell does that mean? What is this, British? What a sentence. It was finally time for the movie. Fantastic Mr. Fox. And as my friend, my date, and I were heading into the theater, the uncle pulls my best friend aside, or my friend aside. He explains to her, "My boy is a big man and needs some privacy for his hot date." This was before cell phones, so the most my friend could do was wait with his uncle as they sat in the lobby of the theater. I noticed that my friend was missing and tried to go check on her. My date grabbed my wrist and pulled me down onto his lap, then wrapped his arms around me with a mumbled reply of, she's probably getting snacks. We'll be fine without her. This is getting weird. Against my better judgment, I agreed to stay seated, slowly sliding off his lap and onto my seat. He didn't seem pleased with that, trying to get me back up onto his lap, even resorting to whining like a puppy and sticking his bottom lip out way too far. Ugh. By this time, the theater was filling up with families and couples, most with young kids. I told him to stop being weird and to watch the movie that was now starting. We got maybe 5 minutes into the movie before he puts an arm around my shoulder and tries to kiss. Not a peck on the cheek, but a full makeout with my cheek meat. Cheek meat? I turn to tell him to stop, and then he tries to make out with me. I push him to the side and tell him he's gross for wanting to make out with a bunch of kids all around us. He started whining and pouting again, so I got up and left. I found my friend outside with the date's uncle and told her that we were leaving. The uncle proceeds to attempt an explanation about his nephew's behavior, saying that he's only been on dates with his waifus and is used to his body pillow reacting a certain way. No, kitchen, you're making me angry. Have to let me kiss your cheek, or I'll have to ban you from my Discord server. I will cancel the nitro on the Discord server if you do not get back on my WAP right now. Let's just say my uncle owns Discord. All right, God, please, can it stop here? If there is more to this horrendous experience, I might freak out. I might have to lose my shit. Needless to say, didn't give him a second chance and never looked back. Okay, thank God. Next entry, a shrine with an unexpected twist. I don't like this. This is a date from back when I was at university. I was a fashion design major, and I would mostly date / hang out with other art majors because of the proximity. I'm scrolling through Tinder one day because I'm bored, and it's fun to see who's around you, and I find this guy. He's 6'2", probably not, has a dog in his pictures, and has a funny bio. He's a sculpture major. Didn't know that was a thing. So I swipe right, and it's a match. We hit it off, liking the same things, talking about art school stresses, and also having pretty decent conversations. Keeping up communication for a Tinder match. Green flags, right? Wrong. We talked for about a week before deciding to meet up. All the while, nothing of concern sticks out to me. He invites me to his studio in the sculpture department to hang out and then go grab dinner later. He tells me he's finishing up a few plaster pours for his final, but that I'm still good to come over. I walked into his studio, and when I tell you, the mask I had to put on my face to hide my shock was strong. I went to art school, so it takes a lot to catch me off guard, but this definitely threw me for a loop. The studio is about 5 foot by 8 foot, and it has a floor to ceiling shelves filled with plaster toes. Full feet flexed toes, bent out of shape, every possible foot position known to man. He had a plaster sculpture of it. I look around and try to be polite about it when asking. He starts going on this tangent about feet can be expressive, and you can really tell how a person is feeling based on the position of their feet. The grippers, they speak to me. He had a whole 30-minute long speech about it, pulling art history into the mix as well. I was actually impressed he could talk about feet that long. His final project was about feet, if you couldn't guess. And the things he was finishing pouring were more toe molds. He then looks at me, then down at the sandals I was now regretting wearing, and says, I can tell what your feet are saying. Your grippers. They're talking to me. There's gonna be some weird out of context clips in this stream. I don't know what he thought they were saying, but the energy in the room changed and I was already pulling out my phone to send the SOS call to my besties. This man looks me dead in the eyes with a low voice and says, "Your feet are begging to be on display." I'm gonna lose it. I don't even wait for a fake call to come through before I excuse myself and bolt out of the building. Don't date art majors, duly noted. Your feet are telling me that they need to be molded. Your feet are telling me that you would actually have sex with me right now. I mean, it's what the feet say. I'm just the twans waiter. Next entry. Crush almost made me have a threesome with Ryan Reynolds. Excuse me? What? There's no way it's actually him, right? Here I am on a walk to the store and I see my crush and I say to myself that I should ask her out. And with enough courage, I asked her out and she said, sure. I then asked, okay, where would you like to go out to? And she said, how about let's just go to my house? When I heard those words, I was thinking, holy shit, it's time. So then I responded with a simple epic. Then followed her back to her apartment and she says, follow me to my bedroom and wait there. At this point, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just sit on my phone till then. And after a few minutes go by, she drags in 3 cardboard cutouts of Ryan Reynolds with fucking dildos super glued on their cutouts and says, you, me, and Ryan are going to have a fun time and with no escape. Bro? Once I heard those words and looked at the dildos on the Ryan Reynolds cardboards, I fucking bolted it out of there and then find out as I'm running through her apartment that she worships Ryan Reynolds like a cult with pictures of her and him cropped in the same pictures with some shitty Photoshop, along with a strand of hair in a container labeled Ryan's hair heart. After I saw that, I got out of there and ran home and am now traumatized with what happened that day, with Ryan's blank stare still haunting me. Woo! There's no way, right? That's a terrifying one. To be fair, a guy asked a girl on a date, and then when he asked where she wanted to go, she immediately said, let's go to my place. And while that's like half of straight males' dreams, that's a red flag, man. That's a red flag if a girl gets told by a guy to do that. I mean, that is sussy. Title, The Date. Ominous. So basically, there was this one time I went on a date with this guy that was in my history class, and I had been friends with him and some of his older friends for a little while, but I didn't know him as well as the other guys, but I knew he was kind of weird. I'm sorry, I'm a bit, I don't know, I just don't fit in here. And that's saying something coming from me. Oh no. But whenever we were learning about E-Wars, what the fuck does that mean? Maybe just European wars? Yeah. When we were learning about European wars, he always sided with Russia and the fact that they should have won. Anyways, what is he, a sleeper agent? When we went on the date, we got food and it was planning out to be a normal date, right? But no. He decides, hey, let's go to my house. Nope. So I'm like, sure, yeah, let's go to your house, buddy. But here's the thing, neither of us could drive, so his dad had to drive us, which was bad because I didn't know that his dad was my OBGYN. Anyways, we go to his house after a very awkward car ride. And God, when I tell you, when I walked into his room, I immediately wanted to leave. This motherfucker had a collection of Russia merch, not even as a joke either. Like, he has USSR hats, shirts, 3 of the flags all across his damn room, and streamers. I'm not kidding, the whole room was just Russian-themed gifts. A Russian-themed gift shop. Even worse, there was a shrine of Putin with the Jesus Putin candles and everything. And I asked him what it was all for, and he said, I will always serve communist Russia, and then saluted. Mans wasn't even Russian either. He was a white Caucasian man. And he stood there for a good 5 minutes just saluting to the flag. And listen, I have nothing against Russians, all right? But this kid was like a diehard Putin fan, and he proceeded to tell me how he wanted to have intercourse with Putin, and then asked me if I would role play as Putin so he could live out his dreams of having intercourse with Putin. I have never called my mom so fast in my damn life. Anyways, I have a restraining order against him now because he tried to break into my house after I left. Hate that. Hate it. Like a lot. Hated a lot. That's wild. What's going on with white people, man? Why can't we just like have a hobby instead of like inserting ourselves into other cultures? Why can't we just play Apex Legends or something? That's what a bunch of straight white men do at this point. Let's do that. Anyway, next entry. First date to the movies gone wild. Sat next to a boy in class, I'll call him Max. Max was the weird kid of the class. Good start. Good start to be labeled as such. He disturbed lessons, fidgeted a lot, and was pretty antisocial. No one messed with him, however, because he was 195 centimeters tall, British jump scare, 6'4", 6'5" roughly, and had a green, I believe, belt in karate. We weren't really friends. Acquaintances would be a better way to describe a relationship usually. He would just blankly stare at me in class and leave quietly. That's weird. But one day, he waited for me after school. Max walked me to my home, carried my school bag, and left. I was a little confused, but thought he just wanted to hang out. So I just let him do his thing. It also might be because I was terrified of confrontation of any kind. But let's gloss over that. It became an everyday thing. Finally, on Valentine's Day, Max came to class in a tuxedo, gave me a rose, and asked me out in front of the whole class. Oh my God, Max is dripping in front of the crew. I accepted because I didn't have the heart to say no, and I was scared shitless. Social pressure bad, red flag. He invited me to the movies to see the newly released at the time Zootopia. I was excited because this was the first time I would go to the movies without my parents. As we walk in the building, he gives me 3 tickets. What's that third one for, Max? What's that third one for, Max? I was confused as I thought it would only be the 2 of us. Max pulls out 3 more tickets. Now I was even more confused. I asked him about the amount of tickets, but he just mumbled something under his breath. I didn't pry further. Again, scared of confrontation. We walk and find our seats. There is not a soul around. I try to start up conversation or make a joke, and it becomes abundantly clear that he is just ignoring me. Finally, the ads before the movies start, cutting the silence. The movie was fine. I liked it the first time. Say what now? We walk out of the theater. I start walking to the exit. I thought that was it. Where are you going? He asked me. It was not. I bought tickets for 2 more. Was I supposed to just walk away? Of course not. And so we watched Zootopia 3 times. I learned that he has seen it at least 15 times before. After that, we went to his house to hang out. His mom was home as well, so it was quite awkward. In his room, he turned on his PC to put a movie on. What movie, Max? Let's just say I like Zootopia. On his Nick Wilde wallpaper desktop, there was the normal stuff and an MP4 file titled Zootopia. I asked him to maybe watch something else. Max exploded. He started screaming at me that he is not gay and not a furry. What? Suddenly he started to cry. I comforted him as best as I could as an awkward teen. In the end, we watched Zootopia again. To get out of the situation, I pretended to get a call from my mom and left to go home. After profusely apologizing and telling him my dad was going to pick me up. After that day, I avoided him. I stayed at school longer, went over to my best friend to study, just everything I could think of. Eventually, he left my school at the end of the year and we didn't speak to each other again. Until last month, Max messaged me apologizing for the date that happened years ago at this point. I laughed and told him that it was okay. We chatted for a bit and he is doing very well. He moved to another country, came out as gay, is in a loving relationship, and is in therapy for his autism and ADHD. Wow. This took a great turn. He's also openly a furry now. Who could have known? Life is truly a weird thing. Wow, actually a good turn. Didn't expect that. I think Max might have known a little before he had actually known, if I'm being honest. Good for him. Sometimes the plot twists go in the right direction, guys. Next entry of the Freak Files. I did not realize I was on a date, and then suddenly I was. So I've been friends with this guy since like 5th grade when I used to beat him up at lunch. And I've known he was attracted to me for a bunch of that time. I'm 23 now. I made it clear I'm not interested. He knows I'm a sex-repulsed asexual. Fair enough, King. A few years ago, he'd just broken up with his long-term first serious girlfriend and was in a bit of a spiral. So me and my best friend decided to take him to the Water Lantern Festival. Oh, isn't that really cute? As a cheer-up sort of thing. Unfortunately, my friend had something come up and couldn't go. Whatever, no big deal. We arrive at the park and he writes angsty poetry on a water lantern and sends it into the lake and asks if I'm still single and talks about wanting to find a new girlfriend and implies that the right girl could fix him maybe? Please fix me. Fix me, mommy. Then it starts raining, so we go sit in my car to wait it out. He proceeds to look around my car, then turns to me and says, you know, this would be a really good car to have sex in, which is a blatant lie because I drive a 2-door Volkswagen Beetle. Anyway, we hang out for another hour and then go home, and we are still friends to this day, and a similar thing happened last week, L moment. I love that that's the part you're most mad about. It's just not a good car for that. He's wrong. He's wrong, okay? What an idiot. Fuck that guy. My Volkswagen Beetle is terrible for sex, and he knows it. He's just being nice. Next entry. Ted Cruz and the Surprise Woods. Excuse me? What? When I was in high school, I got set up for a surprise date. Guys, stop doing this. Let people find their own dates. Stop being a matchmaker. You don't know somebody that well. God, this is weird. Just let them find out their own shit. I was set up for a surprise date. It was supposed to have been a group of us going to see a movie, then hanging out after. It wasn't that. Instead, when I got to the theater, it was only one guy. This guy didn't really hang out with us often, but he was kind of part of this group, so it was fine. We were about to go to get tickets for the movie, I can't remember which, when he turned to me saying he had a way better idea of what we could do. I went along with it because the one friend I wanted to see that movie with wasn't there. We head over to the food court. The theater is in a mall. Grab some food, and before we sit down, he once again turns to me and asks if I'd be down to eat outside. It was a really nice day out, so I don't see why not. Some location context. The mall we were at has this woodsy area beside it with some picnic tables. It's a whole thing. Anyway, at this point, we were outside, and instead of picking one of the picnic tables in the sun, he directs me to one a little bit farther into the woods. Girl, run. Being a people pleaser, I go along with it. Okay. I rationalize that I can still see out of the woods, and there aren't people nearby, so it's fine. We were eating our food, vibing, talking, and everything was fine until the guy nonchalantly said, I think I'm the perfect mix between the two Teds. Which Teds do you mean by that? Me not knowing what the fuck he's on about, kindly ask him to clarify. Ted Cruz and Ted Bundy. So 2 serial killers. Because I look like a skinny Ted Cruz and am suave like Ted Bundy. Does everybody know why Ted Bundy was suave? There was a reason. If I didn't think I was gonna get murdered before, I definitely thought that now. So my 10th grade brain thought the best solution was to subtly get out my phone, I was not subtle, and act like I was getting a call from my mom telling me I had to be home. And then I got in my car and left. I found out the next day of school that the whole group had agreed not to go because they thought we'd look cute together. Stop doing this. Stop. I have not talked to any of these people since grade 10 and don't plan to, as you should. First ever date experience, and it sure as hell was a weird one. Just a little bit. Next entry. D and D's Nuts and the Hunt for Pancake. I'm not one to go on dates, so the thought of me walking into nothing less than a rundown fast food joint and giving the awkward as hell guy behind the register my phone number, impossible. Abysmal, quite possibly the most haunting thing I've ever done. You have to understand, at this point in my life, I recognize that I am gay as fuck. Good for you, King. That's just the way it is. You want to know what fully cemented this fact for me? What made me that realization crystal clear? Well, I'll tell you, Dungeons and Dragons. D&D and the Hunt for a Mythical Pancake. Long setup short. My friends and I had gone to the only burger adjacent spot in our seaside town, and I, the complete idiot of a freak that I am, was so in shock that any human being would compliment my D&D themed pins on my jacket that I was so blinded by a fellow nerd starting conversation that at the simple nudging of my best friend, I gave a complete stranger my phone number and said he was cute. And then I thought we would get along. Was I correct in this statement? No, I was not. I would soon discover why. I text this guy for a while back and forth. We talk about our days, shows, and podcasts we like, and then finally he poses the idea that we go on a date and asks me to pick where. As someone who has constant fear when going on dates with men, I knew I had to pick a place that would make not only me comfortable, but would keep conversation flowing. What's the best conversation starter imaginable? Fish. So I chose the aquarium. As a well-known aquarium, no less, primarily because I wanted to have a nice day. And more than anything, I wanted to see Pancake. What is going on? Pancake, as I have chosen to dub her over the years, is an at least 9 foot long from tail to tip stingray that lives at the aquarium and owns my damn heart. If I have the chance to see Pancake, I will. If I can get close to her, I will. If I can give my life in the name of her honor, by God, I will. So I invite this guy out on a date to the aquarium, and I am immediately put at odds. We had said we would meet outside, buy tickets, and go in together. However, he didn't wait for me at all and went inside ahead of me. The awkward part being there are only scheduled times to enter the aquarium, so I had to wait outside an extra 30 minutes while he just awkwardly sat inside and passively aggressively told me to hurry up because he was bored. When I finally made it inside, he dead stared, looked at me and asked if I was going to reimburse him for the tickets since this date was my idea and he would just pay for the next date. But I can look past that, you know, communication errors on a first date, they happen all the time. However, I don't think I can look past the other elements of this date that made me want to throw myself to the sharks. First of all, you're nothing but a trashy hoe. Second of all, you suck dick. Third of all, you're not a boss ass bitch. You're a boss ass trashy hoe. Psh, psh, psh. He didn't want to look at anything. I've never met Sonic the Hedgehog in the flesh, but if I did, he would have been my date at that moment because he was uninterested in everything he saw. Sea otters, nope. Puffins, nope. Beautiful jellyfish that I was super excited to see that are potentially immortal, absolutely not. I'd make comments about the fish I really liked and he would completely plow through any conversation I tried to start. It felt like he didn't want to get to know me or the things I liked at all. Even worse was the fact that when he did comment on the fish, it was to find what he considered to be the ugliest fish in the bunch and claim with the jerking point of his finger that it was me. Now, did I think he was joking? Kind of. It felt weird as hell, though, considering I kept comparing him to the hyperactive and excitable otters. Meanwhile, I'm like the nastiest looking grouper in the bunch, but I digress. What truly wrecked me, however, was the fact that this man could not give a single flying fuck about Pancake. I love this giant ass stingray more than anything else in the aquarium and he couldn't care less. He was so unimpressed, in fact, that he literally dragged me away from the giant tank before I even got to see her because clearly there would be more interesting things around the aquarium somewhere, right? After all, why would anyone want to come outside in the heat to see some old stingray? I missed out on the giant 9 foot long love of my life because of a milk toast of a man with no personality. Refused to acknowledge how fun aquariums really are. Even worse was the fact that this man could not make a decision to save his life when it was concerned his own well-being and food options. But he absolutely knew what was right for me to eat without even consulting me. He took almost 15 minutes to order something for himself, awkwardly chatting up a nice girl at the register and being slightly flirty with her while I'm standing right there. And he even making her uncomfortable. I've never seen a man try so hard to act more like a macho man than him. All the while he proceeds to order me something I couldn't even eat because I was allergic. Man didn't even have the energy to ask me first. The entire time we sat at the pier, I couldn't get a word in edgewise. All he wanted to do was talk about the fact that although his college would be all paid for by his parents, he wanted to see how, I shit you not, the other half lived by working at a local fast food spot. It's a bit more than half, buddy. By a long shot. He literally wanted to observe people poorer than him because he didn't get it. When I tried to ask what his hobbies were, the only response I got was yachting. I'm a yacht guy. I'm a yacht guy. My family owns a spot on this pier. We like to yacht. Have you ever been on a yacht? Do you want to? He was like a damn boat boy NPC. I felt like I was in a fucking yacht advertisement for rich white boys with too much time on their hands. The guy proceeded to flex on how much money he had for the next 40 minutes. Meanwhile, when I finally could get a word in for once, I mentioned how much I loved aquariums and that I hoped that he had a nice time because of it, because it meant a lot to me. I talked about coming to school in an area where I knew nobody and how being near sea life made me feel more comfortable than I had been in a while. This man turns to me, flashes the most off-putting smug grin I've ever seen, and has the audacity to say, wow, you're not like the other girls. I like that about you. You're different. You like fish. You like fish and I have a yacht. So let's go like catch you some and you could be like quirky to them or whatever, right? Bro. Jesus fucking Christ. I think I puked in my mouth. He must have seen my face of disgust because it kind of shut him up for a minute. Maybe he truly rethought his entire existence with that comment. I hope that was the reset his internal systems needed because I never heard a line so cringy in my entire life. Fuck being an NPC, this man was a walking Chad versus Virgin meme. I felt like I was being hunted by the ghost of some sea captain and I was gonna find my ass deep in Davy Jones' locker if I didn't agree with his gag-worthy statement. The guy never explained his reasoning, just put an arm around me and left me horrified at the thought that I was his mythical nerdy dream girl that took him to an aquarium he thought was ass. Oh my God. So we moved to part ways. The guy leans in for a kiss. I give him the most Lego man-esque hug I've ever had in my life. And he says we should do this again the following week. I proceed to ghost him for the next 2 weeks and I've not heard from him in 2 years since. All in all, I learned that secret dad boy that just want a quick fuck live among us. They're in our damn walls and they truly assume they are God's gift to the world. I also learned that, yeah, I do prefer dating women. Good for you. They at least would let me say hi to Pancake. Wow. What a roller coaster. What great storytelling, by the way. I don't know who this is in chat. You don't have to say who you are. Great story writing. Phenomenal. I loved it. Next entry. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. Bro, you know what happens sometimes now? Sometimes people will post their shitty unseasoned food and I'll get indirects that are like, oh, they Sneeg seasoned it. What do you mean? It wasn't mine. I mean, it was an equal effort. Thanks for being here for the Freak Files chat. Let's just say we already have the next Freak Files. So, bad dates went terribly. In a good way, though. The next one is weird school experiences. Submit your weird/cringy school experiences to take part in the next Freak Files. There you go, chat. Have at it.
Hacking mainframe. Establishing peer-to-peer port connection. Accessing database. Wikifeek.com.
I'm in.